Once upon a time. There are no words more captivating and enchanting than these. Today, we'll embark on a magical journey through Grandma's stories, written by Figueiredo Pimentel in 1896. A book filled with tales that warm the heart, spark the imagination, and now have a new mission: to help you learn English in a light and fun way. Each tale we'll explore here will not only be a window into fantasy, but also a valuable tool to expand your vocabulary, improve your pronunciation, and boost your confidence in speaking English. So, open your heart, adjust the volume, and, of course, don't forget to turn on the subtitles. Repeat the words out loud and feel the magic of learning happen. Now, open your ears and your heart wide, because the first story is about to begin. Let's go!
The Travel Companion. André's Farewell and Journey. André. Good little André, a boy beloved and cherished by all who knew him, was in despair, bathed in tears, and distressed because he knew that his devoted father was in the final throes of life. He alone kept vigil in the small and sparse room where the dying man lay. The lit oil lamp cast a faint glow. It was deep into the night. Suddenly, the old man broke the silence and spoke. "You have always been a good son, André, and for this, God will help you on your journey through life." Then, he looked sadly at his son for the last time, closed his eyes forever, and passed away. He was dead, but it seemed as though he was merely sleeping a sweet, calm, and peaceful sleep, for he had died serenely, like the just man he had always been. André, understanding the harsh reality, wept bitterly, kneeling beside the bed, holding his beloved father's hands between his own, and kissing them with utmost respect. He remained in that position, still weeping until, overcome by exhaustion, he fell asleep. He dreamed. He saw the sun and the moon bow before him. He saw his father, perfectly healthy, smiling joyfully as he used to in his cheerful days. A charming young girl, wearing a golden crown, on her beautiful head adorned with golden hair, extended her hand to him, while his father said, "Here is your bride, André. She is the most beautiful girl in the entire world." The boy woke up. The pleasant and radiant vision had disappeared. No one was by his side. In the room there were only him and the lifeless body. The next day, they buried the deceased. André followed the funeral procession sadly, remembering that he would never again see the one he had loved so much and who had loved him in return. He heard the sound of earth falling onto the coffin. He heard the soft chants of prayers. And he wept. His tears did him good, offering relief. He looked around. The sun shone majestically, gilding the green trees, as if to say to him, "Take comfort, little André. Behold this sky, so blue, so serene. Your father is there, praying to God for your eternal happiness." And right there in the cemetery, the young boy made a vow to himself. "I promise I will always be good because I want to reunite one day with my father, who is in heaven." Then, after kneeling and praying once more at his beloved's grave, he returned home, still sad, but resigned and comforted, ready to seek work. The Encounter at the Chapel. A few days later, Andrei decided to leave his hometown to wander the world in search of work. Determined to carry out this plan, he packed his belongings, sold the few things the old man had left, managing to gather only $50,000, and set off, having first gone to the cemetery to say goodbye to his dear deceased. For many days he walked, always forward, crossing plains, hills, valleys, forests, and villages. Everywhere he went, people welcomed him warmly, sympathizing at first sight with his expansive, loyal, frank, and honest demeanor. No one refused him shelter. At other times, however, far from the towns, when night fell, he would sleep wherever he could, whether in the open field or sheltered in some old tree trunk. He was not afraid of wild beasts, animals, or venomous creatures, taking refuge under God's protection. One day, he was traveling through an extensive meadow. In the evening, the weather changed. Abruptly, the sky darkened, covered with thick black clouds. It threatened to rain. Thunder roared. Lightning crossed the skies. In the distance, far away, perched on a small hill, a chapel glimmered. Andrei ran toward it, and seeing the door open, he entered to escape the downpour that had just begun. He knelt in a corner, made his prayer, and fell asleep. In the middle of the night, he awoke. The storm had ceased. The night had become calm. Through the open door, moonlight entered, illuminating the little church. It was only then that the young man noticed, in the center of the nave was an open coffin, with a corpse that had not yet been buried. However, he wasn't afraid, for he knew that the dead do not return, and that only the living do harm, when they are evil. After saying a brief prayer for the soul of the deceased, he was about to fall asleep again, when he heard the sound of footsteps. Immediately, two men entered. They approached the coffin and intended to carry the body. "What do you gentlemen want with this dead man?" asked the young man, intervening. "Leave him alone, for the love of God." "No," replied one of the two wrongdoers. "We are going to throw him out to feed the vultures, because he owed us money and died without paying." "I don't know how much the debt was," said the young man. "All my fortune is $50,000. I will gladly give it to you if you promise not to take such a petty revenge." "Very well," agreed the two villains. "Since you are paying for him, we will let him rot in peace." Andrei gave them the money, and the evildoers left. At dawn, the generous young man exited the church and continued on his journey. Venturing into a forest, he saw ahead Miguel, the old woman, and the magical gifts. Having crossed it, after a few minutes, he encountered a boy, about his age, who asked him, "Where are you headed, buddy?" "I'm traveling the world in search of work," replied Andrei. "Then let's go together, as I'm headed the same way," the other said. And he then asked, "What's your name?" "Andrei. And you?" "Miguel." The two young men walked side by side, both cheerful, laughing and singing now and then, chatting, carefree about the pleasures of life and the strains of the journey. It was midday when they stopped to have lunch in the shade of a leafy tree, sharing equally the provisions each had brought. Soon after, they saw, at some distance from where they were, a very old woman, wrinkled and trembling, carrying a bundle of firewood she had gathered from the forest. The poor woman struggled to walk under that weight. Suddenly, the old woman slipped and fell to the ground, letting out sorrowful cries. The two companions quickly rushed to her aid, trying to help her up. However, they saw that the unfortunate woman had fractured one of her legs. André suggested carrying her home, but Miguel calmed him. He took a jar from his pocket, rubbed some ointment on the fractured area, and the old woman quickly healed as if she had suffered nothing at all. Wanting to repay the remarkable service Miguel had just performed, the old woman gifted him 3 green twigs she had gathered, telling him they were precious. André smiled, seeing the insignificance of the gift, but Miguel kept them with the utmost care, for he knew what virtues they contained and how he would use them. The two friends traveled all day, and when night fell, they rested under the moonlight, without a bed or pillows, in the open air, yet still feeling satisfied. Dawn broke. By noon, while walking through an endless field under a scorching sun, the two companions found a fallen soldier, speechless, exhausted, and half dead. Miguel took a small bottle from his travel bag, pried open the soldier's clenched teeth with a knife, and made him swallow a few drops of the liquid red water the bottle contained. Immediately the soldier came back to life. He ate a piece of bread and cheese offered by André and was able to march on. Wanting to show his gratitude to the generous Miguel, he insisted on giving him the sword he carried, and he bid them farewell. In the afternoon, the boys were still traveling when they heard the delightful sounds of sweet music. In the air, they looked up and saw a large white swan singing, gradually weakening its voice, flying lower and lower, descending, until it fell dead next to the two traveling companions. Seeing it dead, Miguel took the soldier's sword, which he had been given, and cut off its wings, saying to his friend, "These wings are worth gold, my friend. I'm going to take them." And he put them in the bag along with the 3 twigs from the old woman and the soldier's saber.